everybody, Crafting Journey here, that Journey chick on Instagram. Welcome to Crafting and Crime Daily, the daily show where I talk about the latest live trials, including the Rittenhouse jury deliberation and the Arbery case, the Ahmaud Arbery murder case out of Georgia. So, what trial am I going to cover next? Stay tuned to find out. Also, today I'm going to work on my temperature blanket. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way in or out, and then make it do some rows on the temperature blanket while I have to go to work. Yeah, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, because today I hope the jury comes back. When they do, I'm going to go live spontaneously, pop up, and you're not going to want to miss that notification. So, what do we have for today? All right, first of all, let's put the blanket in my lap. Look, I'm doing pink. That's the rows I'm up to right here. Now I just got to find what I did with here's the hook, here's the yarn. Where are the cats? I have to look for the cats when I'm doing yarn. So we're getting into the warmer temperatures here. Finally, yes, I'm embarrassed to say that I am finishing up April. Yep, finishing up April. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, you know what? I am done with this color. Let's change colors. What color do we need next? Light purple, which is this one right here. All right, so let's just cut that. Tie it off. Okay. And we're going to put on purple. Purple. Yep. I was doing this last night. If you missed Craft With Me Wednesday, it's because at the end of every month, every other month, I go live on my collaborators channel, Crafty Heifer. So check out Crafty Heifer's live from last night. We went live at 6:30 p.m. Central. Check out the replay on that, and you'll get to see where I was. What was she doing? Oh dear, I wasn't done. I thought I was done. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Oh, my goodness. All right, well, that was a mistake. We can rectify it right now. When you make a mistake, here's how you do it. See, I cut off the wrong yarn. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take the ends of the pinks. I will lay it out here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to put that there. We will lay this here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tie one end around here. Like that. Then we'll take the one that we just tied up and we're going to tie it to the other one. I didn't explain that very well. I should do a video on this, huh? And there's a name for it. I don't know what it is. So you tie that really tight. Except my fingers are not working today. It's cold. I hear the kitties. Okay. My fingers are not working. Okay, here we go. Tie it. And then, now you've got it tied at both ends. One on this end, one on this end, to each other. Now, you pull really tight. Then you snip those ends. And you are ready to go again. There you go. Mistake never happened. Okay, now we can just sit and chit-chat and crochet and talk about crime. Yes. But first, I'm going to put this in my lap because I don't have the heater on. And let me tell you something. It's cold. I don't know what the temperature is outside. Yeah, right. Let's look at the phone. And I don't want to look at the bank account because it's the day before payday. And that's never a good thing. Hi, Bubba. Hi. It's like, Mom, you have yarn. You have yarn. I have glare. Oh, my. Okay, there I go. Let's see. What's the temperature? It's not telling me the temperature. What? Weather. Storm Team 12. Give me the weather. 30 degrees. Mm-hmm. Always cold the days that I have to go to the office. Humidity 59%. Wind 4 miles per hour. Yesterday it was like 40 miles per hour. So we're just going to put this in our lap. I hope you got. All right. We're going to put this in our lap since I don't have the heater on. First, we're going to get out a planner. Today is, I always like to write the national days in. The reason I write them in my planner is so that next year I don't repeat the same day. Because there's tons of different days, national days. Okay. Today is the Great American Smokeout. You're like, oh no! Let me go get a cigarette fast. And we're going to talk about Jim Jones in this day in history. I did not do any uploads yesterday. No verdict in the Rittenhouse case. Today is Thursday, going into the office. Yep. Okay. That is that. All right, let's talk about. So last night my sister and I watched the Hallmark Channel. Yes, we did. We watched a movie. Well, they're kind of all the same. But the guy was so handsome, the guy that she gets at the end. And it had that lady from Days of Our Lives. And my sister loves that, Days of Our Lives, So it had, I forget her name. And of course, she looked all youthful. And it was about this this card that she found in one of her calculus book from high school. And it was basically a love letter in a card and it wasn't signed. And she's like, oh, I got to figure out who this is. Because, she had gone back to her they always go back to their small town for Christmas. So she went back to her small town for Christmas, found this card, got to figure out which one of these high school guys it is. Because none of the high school guys left town. So it was kind of cute, like her exploration to find who wrote this card. And all's well that ends well. They have the kiss at the end and then the credits run. Mm-hmm. Got my Christmas cup today. Because that's right around the corner. You know what else is today? Our savings day. This is our 5th week of savings. So we're increasing it by $1. And this is my little bank. My little ATM, pink ATM. We're going to put $5 into the pink ATM today. Here we go. This is my money for retreat. Retreat money. There it goes. Yep. And I don't know the code. Nope. Don't know the code. Can't get it open. Yep. My sister knows the code. Oh my. Okay. What were we talking about? Oh, we watched the Hallmark movie. And so I was remiss. My plan was I was going to watch the entirety of the testimony in the Arbery case. However, I was more interested in the Hallmark movie, and my apologies. So I did catch one of 3 segments of his testimony. I will cover the other 2 segments today. So I'm will be a day behind, and I do apologize for that. But I wanted to watch the Hallmark movie. So I watched the Hallmark movie, and then I went into my room and what was I doing? Oh, what is going on here? I was playing my game. I have these games I play on my iPad. So I was playing my games on my iPad, listening to the trial. But by it was almost midnight. I'm like, I gotta stop because it was really very interesting. So let's talk about corrupting and crime. So first, we'll talk about the Rittenhouse jury deliberations. So they started day 2 of deliberations yesterday, and the defense moved a new motion for mistrial with prejudice, which I explained to you the other day. With prejudice means the judge would declare a mistrial, and with prejudice means the case could never be brought again because they don't want to retry this case. That's very expensive. But the basis for this mistrial was pretty lame. A discovery violation. Apparently, the prosecution had put into evidence this drone video that they kind of got last minute anyway. But what they gave the defense was a low resolution of this video. However, what they put into evidence was a high resolution version of this video. And the defense says, oh, we had never seen the high resolution version of this video and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, it's the same video, low resolution, high resolution, Yeah, the judge said the same thing, no. But the other thing, the judge made a comment yesterday that he doubted he would ever allow cameras in his courtroom again. Apparently, he's just not having a good time with the media, which is sad. It really is. I feel like the glare is really bad today, and I do apologize for that. I tried to adjust it, but my cameraman is, what are you doing back there, camera? It's one of my gnomes. He's working the camera back there, and he's just slacking, totally slacking. The lighting's terrible. Okay, so what I'm doing here is as I finish each row, I am marking it off in my in one of my older planners. It has a calendar day in the back. I don't know if you can see here. Probably not because of the glare. So each day I complete a row. I just say that I'm complete. So I have all the temperatures written down for all the different days because I want to get through July. So I've got it all the way through July here. So finishing up April, last couple of rows of April. Yay. I did, how many did I do yesterday? 2, 3, 4, 4.5 rows yesterday. So I'm going to focus on this for a little bit for the rest of the week so I can see if I can get some things done. I do want to do some cross stitch in the evenings though. I love me some cross stitch. Oh, we were talking about trials. Sorry, I digressed. So the judge made that comment, like he's not going to let the media into his courtroom anymore. Which I doubt that that's true. I'm thinking to myself, he's just pissed because he got caught playing Jeopardy, which was very funny. Anyway, he was probably a little embarrassed when he found out that happened, which was a media mistake. They turned on the microphones too soon. But, who cares? It just shows that you're human, Mr. Judge. So the jury deliberated, and they sent out 3 questions. And the questions had to do with the drone video. They wanted to see this drone video. So they wanted to know if they could have the video in the jury room so they could watch it. Or, or did they have to come back in the courtroom to watch it? How many times could they play it? So after much debate between the attorneys and the judge decided, listen, these are the triers of fact. They're the ones that have the power at this point. So here's what I'm going to do. Put that video on a drive. They have a computer. I'm going to bring them into the courtroom where they can, visualize it on the screen, and we're all going to leave, and we're going to let them have the courtroom, and they can watch it as many times as their heart desires. I've never seen this. Now, usually when the jury asks to see the video again, they'll bring them into the courtroom, they'll show the video again. But I think this is ideal. If I was a juror, especially in this case, because I've seen this video a few times, I would actually need, if I was really the jury or really a juror, I would want to sit and watch that thing many times before I had to make a decision. So they wanted to see the drone video. So in the end, he said, I'm bringing them in. What he had everybody leave. Then he had one of the bailiffs, the armed bailiffs, walk through the courtroom, make sure that nobody left anything in the courtroom. So it was completely clear. They brought the jury in. The judge left. Of course, there's a bailiff that's sworn to guard them. He's in there, so nothing nefarious happens. And they watched this video. I don't know how many times, but they were free to watch it as many times as they wanted. Then the judge comes back about 4:30. Oh, they're playing with their toy back there. Comes back about 4:30 and asks the jury again, do you guys want to stay late? Because I'm going to adjourn for the day. And, show of hands, who wants to stay late? And apparently no one raised their hand. So he's like, well, I guess we have a consensus. So they adjourned at 4:30 yesterday, 4:30 Central Time. So at that point, I readjusted my thumbnail so that I could, because I have this thumbnail that I keep moving forward in time so that I can go live when this verdict actually comes down. So they're going to come back to the courthouse today, 9 a.m., and resume deliberations for the third day. My prediction is hung jury. Now, I have a community post. I redid it, so it's a little less confusing. There are two charges which you could actually choose guilty on both those charges, except the poll won't let you. You can only choose one. So choose whichever one you believe fits best. But I have to tell you, this is the first time since I've been doing these community posts that the public's pretty split. You guys are split right down the middle almost, as far as how you feel about this. Let me take a look at it. Community post. %33% think that he's guilty of intentional homicide. 5% think he's guilty of reckless disregard for human life. 56% of you think it's self-defense, not guilty. And 5% say hung jury. Yep, 39 people have voted yes, so that's a lot. And I have a feeling the jury is probably the same way, because they have to be unanimous. I don't think you're going to find 12 people that are going to be unanimous in their thoughts about this case. It's just not going to happen. No. So if you're new to my channel, what I am working on is a temperature blanket that I started back in January. Each row of this blanket is the low temperature for the day. I'm working on April. This multicolored row divides the month. So April's almost done. Purples are like the colder ones. The really, really colder ones is this dark blue. Back in March, we had like really, really cold weather back in March. So that's what that represents. So I'm getting into the warmer colors. This is actually 60 degrees because I was doing the low temperatures, not the highs. And then we actually had some lows that were 70. So during the summer. These cats. I have my suitcase out, ready to go to work. So they're playing in the suitcase. I have my lunch in there too. They're probably trying to break into my lunch. Last night, my sister and I were watching Hallmark. We're eating a slice of chocolate cake. We're having a cup of coffee. I look over. I didn't eat all of the cake. I set set aside a little bit of it because the icing was really sweet. Um, and I was full. So I set it aside. Next thing I know, Stitch is sitting there eating the cake. I'm like, what? I stopped. Luckily I caught him very quickly because chocolate is not good for animals. So I took it away from him. This cat is crazy. There he is. Yeah, he's a nutbag. All right. Next trial is the Ahmaud Arbery trial. So the first half of the day, they argued. The defense, the prosecution has rested, so the defense gets to argue their motion for a directed verdict, which means they get up and they argue that the prosecution has not met their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt for some or all of the charges. And I listened very carefully to this argument, and I thought, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. What he felt, some of the basis for the homicide charges, for the felony murder charges, um, were tenuous, the links. So here's what I'm saying. In order to get to felony murder, someone has to have died during the commission of a felony. And what he was arguing was that they hadn't proved that these felonies had actually occurred. So how could you get to a murder? Or some of these felonies had nothing to do with the murder, such as blocking him with a truck. What does that have to do with a murder? So the prosecution got up and argued that it really was like one continuous, but for this felony, he would not have died. But for this felony, he would not have died. Because it was just this continuous circumstances of events. And I thought it was a good argument. So that was denied. They usually are, but they have to make a record. And then, as you recall, the defendant, Roddy Bryant, the third guy, look, I remembered his name. His attorney had waived his opening argument and said he would make it at the beginning of his case. So he did his opening argument. Then Travis McMichael takes the stand. And he was on the stand for about 3 hours. And I don't know if he finished, if he's going to be back on today. I got through about an hour and a half of it. All of his testimony up till the events of the day in question. So I have not listened to what he has to say about the day in question, but I've listened to like how he grew up, his time in the Coast Guard. He explained how while he was in the Coast Guard, he was trained and became a trainer on how to board another vessel, which included, they had arrest powers, and they were taught probable cause. They were taught de-escalation. They were taught how to, all these things. And he went through all these steps of how to use use of force. Like that, you try this first, then you try this, then you try this. And then his lawyer's writing it all down on this big whiteboard, and it was funny because he couldn't spell half the words that were being said. What are you guys doing today? Oh, they are very active this morning. Which I suspect he'll use that whiteboard during his closing arguments. So we hear all that, and then we hear about he moved into this neighborhood to live with his father. He would get his 2-year-old son every other weekend. So his son would come and stay every other weekend. And then his sister moved into the house. So it was like all in the family living there. His father had recently had a stroke, but was recovering very well, a minor stroke. So he was talking about his knowledge of all the crime that was occurring in this neighborhood. The neighborhood had a Facebook page that they called the Crime Watch or whatever. And so he would read that. And so he was learning about all this stuff that was occurring in the neighborhood. And he said it was escalating, including a gun that was stolen out of his own vehicle. And he goes through all these things that he knows about. And he knew that stuff had been taken out of this property where the abandoned house was. Now, stuff was not taken out of that property. It was taken out of the boat that was behind the property. And we later learned the boat wasn't even at this property when the stuff was stolen. It was somewhere else. But he didn't know that. So his assumption was that stuff had been stolen out of the house. He had been shown video by another neighbor of Ahmaud Arbery in this house at night on at least 4 occasions, and during the day on 1 occasion, which we've also seen. But he doesn't take anything on any of those occasions, in any of those videos. But he had seen it. So he's making an assumption. He's narrowing his focus as to who he thinks is committing all of these burglaries. And he thinks it's this guy. I mean, it just makes sense, right? So he's out front one night and he sees this guy on that property and he goes after him. And the guy's trying to hide by the portalet and eventually runs into the house. Well, he does not run in after him. Now, we know from prior testimony that this is 12 days before the murder, before the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. We also know that when he was chasing this guy, he was armed, but they don't talk about that during his testimony, the fact that he was armed. Now, it will probably come out on cross-examination. But once Ahmaud Arbery goes into the house, he does not chase after him. He goes back to his truck to call 911, and we hear the 911 tape. And he's very distressed, and he's telling the 911 operator that his father is over there with another man, and they're going into the house to look for him. Okay. Well, the other man was an officer. The officer had already gotten there because they had the officer's phone number. So the officer was there, and this is the officer we learned told them that they had committed no crime, that Arbery had committed no crime except perhaps trespass, and he wasn't in that house. He was gone at this point. And that's really where that testimony left off. Don't you love this color? Pink? Oh, shocking pink. I know. I love it. So today, while I'm at work, I promise I will listen to the rest of his testimony, whatever occurs. I'll focus on that. If there is a verdict, I've got my suitcase. I have packed my computer. I will go live from the office because there's only a couple of us there today. I will go live from the office. I will bring you the verdict. I will share my screen. We'll watch the verdict together. God willing, if we get enough notice that there's a verdict, and I think in this case we probably will. At least 10 minutes notice. Which is why I've set it all up, so all I have to do is go in and press the live button. First, let's talk about the Great American Smokeout. I usually do that at the beginning, but I forgot. Anyway, Great American Smokeout. Here is what it is. Give up cigarettes for 24 hours. Yes, just 24 hours. There are so many benefits just to giving it up for 24 hours. And the hopes are that after 24 hours, you will feel so much better that you'll just give it up permanently. And I'm talking to you, my sister. 24 hours. This is a great day to do it, too, because it's really cold outside. She's like complaining last night. Every time I go out, my nose starts running. Don't go out. Yeah, so after one day, your risk of heart attack begins to decrease along with your heart diseases and stroke. So listen to this. After 20 minutes without a cigarette, your heart rate drops. So does your blood pressure. 12 hours later, the body will cleanse all the carbon monoxide out of your system after from the last cigarette, 12 hours from the last cigarette. So now your heart rate's down, your blood pressure's down, the carbon monoxide's clearing out of your system. That is great. By day 2, things will start to taste and smell better. That's because your nerves are healing from the smoke damage. By day 3, and this will be the hard day, this is when the nicotine withdrawal will kick in. But you know that, so be prepared. You can do it. Get tough. It's the nicotine is leaving your body, so you can do it. But by 1 month, you may notice you can breathe better, and that you cough less. I don't hear my sister coughing, so thank God, because a smoker's cough is really disgusting. But your lungs will be clear. So, but let's try 24 hours. So I challenge you, if you are a friend or a subscriber that smokes, see if you can do it for 24 hours. It's just once a year. Try it for 24 hours. See what happens. If it doesn't work, we'll try it again next year. How about that? There you go. Okay. Now, let's talk about this day in history. 1978, the Jonestown Massacre. So I think if you don't know about this story, you've been living under a rock, because um, it's been covered to death. I mean, but it was just a horrible, horrible thing. Jim Jones is running this cult. Um, he started out and he had several moves, and he sends a group of his followers down to Guyana to set up this encampment. So they set it up, and he moves all of his followers there, thousands of people. They move down to Guyana, and he's telling them it's rich in crops, there's no mosquitoes, there's no snakes. This is just the promised land. So he moves them all down there. And then they find out, once they get down there, this place is horrendous. But nobody is allowed to complain, because he has got these loudspeakers set up all over the encampment. And he gets his food by sending people into town to steal stuff out of the dumpsters. So he's eating okay, but the crops, the soil was too thin to grow anything. He's forcing all these people to work long, laborious hours in these fields trying to grow stuff that ain't going to grow, including like bucket brigades to make sure everything's watered. Um, but no one was allowed to complain. So if he thought he heard people talking, he would come over the loudspeaker. He had said, if I come over the loudspeaker, you have to stop talking. So they did it, because he had told people that there are spies amongst you, and they will tell me everything that's going on. Crazy, right? So he's not letting anybody leave. He confiscates all of their passports, censors all of their mail. So now family members that are back in the States, they're starting to get suspicious. What is going on here? So they report to the government. So Congressman Leo Ryan, he decides he's going to go down there and he's going to check out this place. So he goes down with some media, on a small plane. He goes down, and Jones knew he was coming, and he had prepared his followers to do this whole song and dance about how they were eating well and they were being treated well. And Leo Ryan, Congressman Ryan, he bought it. He's like, okay, until someone slipped him a note. Well, Jones found out that someone had slipped Congressman Ryan a note. So Congressman Ryan is leaving now. He goes to the runway. There's no planes on the runway. So he's like, hey, what's going on? So finally, a couple of planes arrive. And he's also got a group of defectors. There's 4 or 5 people that decided they want to go with him. And Jim Jones is like, yeah, go ahead, go with him, So he's getting ready to board the plane, and as he's boarding the plane, this truck pulls up with a flatbed in the back, and all these men jump out of the flatbed and just gun everybody down. So Congressman Ryan is killed. All these media people are killed. Some of the defectors are killed. It was awful. So word gets back to Jim Jones that this has happened. So now he had been having these fake suicide drills, and he would always start with the babies first. Um, and they would put syringes into syringes of whatever, this Kool-Aid, into the baby's mouth, and they would drink it. But these were drills. So on this day, he calls everybody to the pavilion. He has them all gathered, gets the babies up front first. So they think this is just another drill until they see the babies foaming at the mouth, and then they realize, oh my God, this is not a drill. But they couldn't escape, and there were like over 1,000 people here. They were surrounded by men with crossbows all around, and then behind, if you got past the men with the crossbows, there were armed men behind them. So good luck trying to escape. There was no escape. So people were drinking the Kool-Aid, which is now it's a saying, but it's a very horrible saying, and one that's really it's just horrible because it's representative. I mean, over 1,000 people died because some were forced to drink this thing at gunpoint. It had cyanide. It was Kool-Aid with cyanide in it. Horrible. So Jim Jones actually died of a gunshot. So somebody shot this man. I don't know when that occurred, and he was taping the entire thing. So a lot of people have listened to this tape, and they suspect that he would turn it off at certain points where he was being challenged, because he didn't want that on the tape. He wanted people who would listen to this tape afterward to think that everything went very smoothly. And I've heard this tape. I mean, I've seen, documentaries on what happened there, and I'm sure you guys have all as well. And it was just an awful, awful thing. And there were survivors of this. Not many, but there were survivors. The Guyana government, they show up like the next day, and there's just this carpet of bodies. I'm looking at a picture. Yeah, it's horrible. Just horrible. So that was this day in history, that mass suicide back in 1978 in Guyana. Really, really awful. So please leave me a comment if you enjoyed today's show, because I am off to go to work. Gotta go to work, 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 work. You didn't think I wasn't going to sing today, right? I sing in every episode. So thank you for watching. Today is Thursday. Wolfpack comes on Thursday nights. Check her out. I think she's on at 6:30 Central Time. She lives up in North Dakota. I bet it's cold up there. Ooh. Anyway. Okay, guys. Check out Marissa the Crafty Heifer if you want to see last night's Craft With Me Wednesday. I was on her channel, so check that out. And make sure to subscribe to her as well, because she and we're finishing up the crochet temperature blanket collab, but we're starting a cross stitch for 2022 temperature collab. You want to hear all about that. Okay? I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Bye.